Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast 5, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes, but we're going to pick out the biggest story of the week, the most remarkable business story, a sleeper story, one that's not getting the attention that we think it deserves, and then our favourite business story. So let's jump into it. Can I nominate the biggest story?
Sure.
Well, look, I think in a pretty quiet week, the biggest piece of economic news certainly was the jobs figures. The unemployment rate stayed at 3.9%, still extremely low. 65,000 jobs were shed last month, but still that rate stayed at 3.9% because the number of people actually looking for a job fell. If you kind of zoom out a little bit, take a look at the broader market. The last 3 months of 2023 saw a net reduction of 52,000 jobs. Clearly, the labour market is softening. It's been extremely tight for a while now, but the economy's slowing. Interest rate hikes are doing their thing. A little bit of heat, Sean, is starting to come out of that jobs market.
Yeah, sure is. Look, I think markets had a very interesting week. As we head into this year, the expectation is that interest rates in the US will fall and later in the year they'll drop in Australia too. That's what markets have priced in. But a Fed governor this week said the world's most important central bank won't want to cut rates until it's sure inflation is defeated. Adding to the argument to hasten slowly were US labour force figures that came in pretty solid. All that took some of the enthusiasm out of the rate cut argument, and equity markets fell locally and on Wall Street. The Aussie dollar dropped back to 66 US cents. There are also growth figures out of China. Pretty good, 5.2%. Big question is, what about the long term in that? And of course, we had those employment figures that you spoke about, Michael. All in all, sets us up for a fun couple of months.
Yeah, it certainly does. On to the most remarkable story category, Sean. For me, it's got to be Donald Trump's victory in the Iowa caucus ahead of the presidential election later this year. He absolutely demolished his rivals for the Republican nomination in Iowa. It's remarkable for a few very quick reasons. The scale of his win, he got more than double the combined vote of his two nearest competitors. Second reason, he didn't even set foot in the state during the campaign. He didn't need to because he knew he was going to win it. Third reason it's remarkable is he had this win despite facing 91 felony counts across 2 state courts and 2 federal districts. He's got a civil case against him, and 2 states have both ruled him ineligible to run because of the January 6th Capitol riot, but he still won Iowa. The Republican nomination is Donald Trump's to lose this year.
Yes, remarkable. My remarkable story, well, I've gone more local. This week, figures from Chant West show that superannuation funds have bounced back from losses in 2022 to record a 9.9% increase for the median growth fund last year. That's 11 out of 12 years of positive returns. A median growth fund is one that has between 61 and 80% in growth assets. Why have they done so well? A big reason was international shares, and a big reason international shares did so well were that tech stocks, and Wall Street tech stocks specifically, boomed last year. In fact, the Nasdaq Composite, which has a very heavy weighting of tech stocks, jumped 43% last year. Amazing. So if your super fund invested in companies like Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, Google, Alphabet, etc., it probably did pretty well. A pretty remarkable year for superannuation funds, Michael.
It certainly was. Find a sleeper story for us, would you, Sean?
Sure, Will. Might be in the wrong category, but I think the long-term effect of all the pollies piling in on the big supermarket chains about why prices remain high, notwithstanding raw material costs have fallen, could have quite an impact on Woolies and Coles in the long term. Best example of what's happening was outlined this week. Cattle prices were down 66% last year, yet a kilo of rump steak remains at $29. Lamb prices down 38%, but lamb cutlets still at $43 a kilo. The government certainly is talking to the ACCC about launching an inquiry into the supermarkets. There's Senate inquiries, there's state inquiries. Now, all this came in the week that Woolies and Coles brands were ranked among the very best in the country. It just reminds me a bit of the pile-on of the banks that eventually led to the Royal Commission. We know what happened to Qantas last year. The lesson from all those things is that big business must look after its customers first. Maybe that's not happening. Reckon this story has quite a few legs.
I reckon you might be right. Look, sleeper story for me, potentially the electric vehicle revolution, having a little bit of a wobble considering the momentum that the push to EVs has had in recent years. A couple of worrying signs. In the US, rental car group Hertz is selling 20,000 EVs. That's a third of its electric fleet. It's now opting for gas-powered vehicles because the cost of repairs and maintenance on the EVs was just too high. Not the best look. And then at the same time, you've got Tesla cutting the price of its Model Y cars across Europe. It's done the same. It cut prices in China a week ago because of the uncertain demand for electric vehicles. You put them both together and it just feels like the momentum might be slowing just a little bit. Might be a sleeper story to watch, that one.
I think so. Michael, what was your favourite story for the week?
Oh, look, easy one for me, Sean. iPhones have beaten Samsung devices to become the best-selling smartphone series over 2023. Now, this is the first time it's happened since 2010. I find that quite remarkable because I actually am so firmly in that Apple ecosystem that I thought it happened some time ago. But the iPhone accounts now for a fifth of the global market, close to 235 million shipments last year. Samsung sold 227 million. Put them together, that is nearly 500 million phones in 1 year. Just remarkable.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think that's my favourite story of the week too, Michael.
All right, there we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to hit follow and join us online on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook and X. I'm Michael Thompson and this is the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed.